this morning, and joining me to get ahead of it is Tennessee Senator Bill Hagerty. He's a member of the Senate Banking, Housing, and Urban Affairs Committees, as well as the Foreign Relations and Appropriations Committee. Senator, great to see you. Thanks so much for being here.
Good morning, Maria.
So you'll have a chance to question Jay Powell today in the Senate. What are you expecting to probe, and can you preview the testimony for us?
Well, I think we all agree that he's been dealt a very tough hand by this administration. He's dealing with record-breaking inflation. Policies of the Biden administration, particularly with respect to energy, have driven inflation through the roof. So he's trying to address this. I'm going to be very interested to see how he's thinking about inflation, the pace of inflation, also unemployment and the labor force participation rate in the face of what we see as real stress in the banking system. He's got some real challenges here. The comments that he made in the House of Representatives, I'd like to draw that out a little bit more to see how hawkish he really is in terms of rate environment. Again, he talked about the pace not being as important, but what we've seen, Maria, is a pace of rate increases that we've not seen in the past 40 years.
Yeah.
We've seen the steepest curve ever, and it's put a tremendous amount of stress in the banking system. So I'm going to be focused very much on where his thoughts are there, particularly at the regional bank level, and how he sees this unfolding.
Well, Senator, you're leading a group of senators urging the Biden administration to use sanctions and visa bans against Mexican officials to force action against the Mexican cartels. You wrote to Janet Yellen and Anthony Blinken saying that the Mexican president has, quote, clearly made the deliberate choice to pursue a permissive and non-confrontational policy toward the dangerous drug cartels, to turn a blind eye toward pervasive corruption in Mexico. Can you tell us more about that?
Indeed. Absolutely. This has been a deep concern. Maria, no one has been better than you in terms of reporting on the crisis at our southern border. But the Mexicans have a role to play here as well. Since Joe Biden is not going to fulfill his own responsibility, we ought to put pressure on AMLO, the president of Mexico, to step up and take control of his own northern border. At this point in time, the Mexican cartels control the northern border of Mexico, and by default, they control our southern border because Joe Biden has given the order for us to step away. The result of that is massive immigration. We've had over 170 different nationalities apprehended at our border since Joe Biden became president. That's a massive national security risk. But the fentanyl crisis is the worst of all.
Yeah.
We're losing children every day in America. We've got to address it. This administration has not been serious about it. So we should use tools to put pressure on our border neighbor, Mexico, to get their officials to step up. President Trump was able to do that effectively dealing with AMLO.
Yeah.
We need to see the Biden administration step up and effectively address this through the Mexican government.
Well, I'm with Daniel Garza this morning from the Libra Initiative, the president. And Daniel, I want you to jump in here. How much money are these drug cartels making? They've got drug smuggling and they've got human smuggling. Yeah,
it's almost a corporate structure that they have all along the border area and in, obviously in many regions within Mexico itself. I'm from McAllen, Texas, and in the city of Reynosa, just across the border, the cartel operate with impunity. And AMLO's, López Obrador's current strategy of hugs, not bullets, is obviously worsening the situation because he's ignoring how much this problem is festering and has complicated the lives and security of everyday citizens. Now, AMLO is going to tell you that he doesn't have the resources. The Immigration Institute has run out of money. Their law enforcement is corrupt all the way to the top. So how will these sanctions, if you do impose them, even begin to turn the tide against the cartel in the border?
Well, I can't disagree with you at all. In fact, these cartels are multi-billion-dollar entities. They're working in partnership with the Chinese Communist Party, by the way, in this drug industry that is, again, killing Americans. And every day we let this go on, they become stronger and stronger. I met with Mexican Foreign Minister Ebrard about this. He is losing control. He's losing control of their nation. They need to step up. We need to put every bit of pressure and give them the tools to step up and acknowledge the fact that they're under immense pressure from the United States government. Right now, they're getting no pressure from the United States government. So again, I'm looking for every tool possible to try to stop the crisis at our southern border. Putting pressure on the Mexican leadership is one of those tools. We need to be deploying every tool we possibly can.
Here's Kaylee McGee-White.
Senator, we would be remiss if we didn't name one of the biggest culprits in the Biden administration's dereliction of duty on the southern border, Department of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. Now, there's been an effort by some Republicans to impeach Mayorkas. My question for you is, would you and your colleagues in the Senate support such a resolution if it came before you?
What we've seen is a complete dereliction of duty by the Biden administration, and specifically with Secretary Mayorkas at the point of the spear. I understand exactly where my colleagues are in the House of Representatives. The difficulty we got here in the Senate is that we don't control the Senate. That's why 2024 is so critically important. That would allow us to exercise clear oversight and take executives like this that are responsible for major agencies and deal with them in an appropriate manner. Alejandro Mayorkas is able to do this with impunity because we don't have the tools. We have a Democrat leadership here in the Senate that will not bring them forward, will not allow us to bring them in and exert proper oversight. So I'm in favor of any tool that will put pressure on this administration to do their job.
All right, Senator, we've got so much to talk to you about. We'll have to leave it there for now. Got to get into China next time. Thanks so much for joining us.
I look forward
Senator
to it, Maria.
Bill
Thank you.
Hagerty joining us in D.C. Stay